Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So text 42.
42.
Yeah, 42.
Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namah Samaya Shuddhaya.
Namah
नमः समाय शुद्धाय
Purushaya Paraya Cha.
पुरुषाय पराय च
Vasudevaya
वासुदेवाय सत्वाय
Tubhyam Bhagavate Namah.
तुभ्यं भगवते नमः.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true.
Yes, please. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you. Silver Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. Dear Lord, you have no enemies or friends. Therefore, you are equal to everyone. You cannot be contaminated by sinful activities, and your transitional form is always beyond the material creation. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead because you remain everywhere within all existence. You are consequently known as Vasudeva. We offer you our respectful obeisance. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Vasudeva because he lives everywhere. The word Vas means to live. As stated in Brahma Samhita, Eko apesu Prachetam Jaganandan Kotim. The Lord, through his plenary portion, enters into each and every universe to create the material manifestation. He also enters into each and every part in all living entities and into each and every atom also. Parmanu Chitis Istham. Because the Supreme Lord lives everywhere, he is known as Vasudeva. Although he lives everywhere within the material world, he is not contaminated by the modes of nature. The Lord is therefore described as in his Upanishad as apart vidham. He is never contaminated by the modes of material nature. When the Lord descends on this planet, he acts in many ways. He kills demons and performs acts not sanctioned by the Vedic principles. That is, he acts considered sinful. Even though he acts in such a way, he is never contaminated by his actions. He is therefore described as Suddha, meaning always free from contaminations. The Lord is also Sama, equal to everyone. In this regard, he states in Bhagavad Gita, Samo aham sarva bhuteshu name desho atina priya yaha vajanti yomam bhaktyaya mayatiteshu chapi aham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion in a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Bhagavad Gita 9.29. The Lord has no one as his friend or enemy, and he is equal to everyone. The word Satyavaya indicates that the form of the Lord is not material. It is Satchidanand Vigraha. Ishvaraha Paramanand. Krishna Satchidanand Vigraha. His body is different from our material bodies. One should not think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has a material body like ours. Hare Krishna, then Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu Name Dveshyos Tina Priya. See, as we have seen from the second canto of Bhagavatam, everything is emanating from the Lord. Gita also Lord is saying, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, Mattaha Sarvam Pravarti. So if everything is emanating from the Lord, how can actually see, like, think of it logically, how can anything be against the Lord? So the so-called enmity against the Lord that the demons have, that is just an imagination. No one can do anything against the Lord. So therefore, Lord has no enemies. Lord is not envious of anyone. Not to say that no one is envious of the Lord. There are many. In fact, we are also envious of the Lord. But no, Lord is not envious towards anyone, because the Lord manifests everything, material or spiritual. Everything is an emanation from the Supreme Lord. So how can the Lord be envious towards anything? Think of it very logically. See, when we are trying to understand bhakti or the scriptures, we must understand it very scientifically. We must always understand from the fundamental principles. So if we logically, like for example, there's a lot of confusion in the Abrahamic religions, especially like if you see Christianity or Islam. There are so many contradictions they are not able to answer. Like Christianity has this biggest contradiction of karma. So because they don't believe in karma, they're not able to explain why children suffer. Children don't have karma. Even according to Vedic religion, we can understand that children don't really, they don't accumulate karma up to the age of Pauganda. There's no karma. So then how can a child suffer? Or why should a child suffer? So there's no question of prarabdha in Christianity or Islam. So that becomes a contradiction and people become atheistic. But Vedas answer that very simply, that there is prarabdha karma, so a child is suffering. So the Supreme Lord, prarabdha coming from. So the Supreme Lord is manifesting everything. So how can he manifest anything which is against himself? Or rather, how can he become envious of his own creation? So in this way, when we look at the Vedic religion very scientifically, we realize, like we see the example of this karma, we can see that Vedas explain it so scientifically. And then it becomes very easy. There is no contradiction. So if you see a blind child or a lame child or a poor child, you can understand that this is prarabdha, previous birth's karma, which is coming here. So no contradiction. So sometimes even devotees think like this, that, why is the Lord causing so much harassment to me? So Lord is not envious of any living entity. Lord is not envious of anything in this creation, material or spiritual. Everything is happening by the will of the Lord, and everything is directed towards the Lord. So Krishna is the source of everything. So he's Vasudev, Vasa. His Vas is everywhere. He lives everywhere. So because he lies everywhere, everything is manifesting from him, and therefore he is superior to everyone and everything. So everything is subordinate to him. Therefore, the Lord logically cannot be envious to any living entity. However, those who are favorable to the Lord, then the Lord is favorable to them. It's very simple. If you study the principles of magnetism, in magnetism, the lines of magnetism are aligned. So metals like iron or ferrite materials, ferromagnetic materials, their domains align. Then they also become magnetized. So if some living entity aligns himself with the will of the Supreme Lord, he also becomes divine. And that is the natural course of action. All the living entities are meant to be aligned with the Lord. So when there is any sort of misalignment with the will of the Lord, there is dvesha, then there is envy, and then there is problem. So the envy of the living entity, of one living entity towards the other, is nothing but the manifestation of the envy towards the Supreme Lord and his arrangement. So the living entity somehow manages to give this envy, he'll also become divine. So Krishna, in this regard, Krishna makes a very interesting comment in the 4th chapter. Ye yathama prapadyante taus tathaiva bhajamyaham. So Krishna is not partial. He is reciprocating in an equivalent manner, in an equitable manner. So if someone is envious of the Lord leaves him to the mercy of the nature. On the other hand, if someone is favorable to the Lord, then Lord takes care of his life. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Then we continue. Text 43. Maitreya Uvacha
Maitreya Vacha
Iti Prachetobhir Abhitushto Abhishtuto Hare.
Iti Pracherato Visto Hari
Pritastathetyaha Sharanya Vatsala.
Pitat Yaha Karniha Vatsata
Anichatam Yanam Atripta Chakshusham
Anichatam Jnanam Sat Sukshasam
Yayav Swadhamapan Dhamanapavarga Virya.
Yayo Swadhama Napavarga Virya. May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Very good. The great sage Maitreya continued. My dear Vedura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the protector of hundred souls, being thus addressed by the Prachetas and worshipped by them, replied, may whatever you have prayed for be fulfilled. The saying this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose promise is never defeated, left. The Prachetas were unwilling to be separated from him because they had not seen him to their full satisfaction. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word anapavarga virya is significant in this verse. The word ana means without, pavarga means the materialistic way of life, and virya means prowess. The prowess of the Supreme Personality of Godhead always contains 6 basic opulences, one of which is renunciation. Although the Prachetas desired to see the Lord to their full satisfaction, the Lord left. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, this is an exhibition of his kindness to innumerable other devotees. Although he was being attracted by the Prachetas, he left. This is an example of renunciation. This renunciation was also exhibited by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he stayed with Advaita Prabhu after taking sannyas. All the devotees there wanted him to stay a few days longer, but Lord Chaitanya left without hesitation. The conclusion is that although the Supreme Lord has unlimited kindness for his devotees, he is not attached to anyone. He is equally kind to his innumerable devotees, all. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. The opulence of renunciation. So, the Lord is not attached to anything. For example, we hear the highest, the topmost devotion in this world is the devotion of gopis. But the Lord is not attached. So when the gopis thought that Krishna was attached to them, he was only dancing with them, and they were so fortunate, and Krishna was only kind to them, Krishna could understand that they had pride in their hearts. And Krishna could not tolerate that. So he simply left. Now gopis are the dearmost devotees of the Lord. No one can come close to gopis in terms of devotion. No one. But still, even then, Krishna was unattached. So we see the example in this material world. If there is some attachment between a male and a female, then they're not able to live without each other. Attachment. So it's like in this world, if we see that if some girl loves some boy or some boy loves some girl, even if the other party is insulting or something, they are not able to leave. That is attachment. But the Supreme Lord is completely unattached because one of his opulences is renunciation. So we can see that the living entities, now if the Lord loves all the living entities. So think of it this way. The Supreme Lord loves all the living entities. And yet the living entities don't want to live with him. We, in this world, we don't want to live with Krishna. That's why we are here. If Krishna wishes, he can simply deliver us. But he waits for us to come back. So this is also his opulence of renunciation. We can see that he is renowned. So he waits patiently for us to come back, but he will not interfere in our lives. If he wants, he can make our lives so miserable that we'll surrender to him immediately. But he doesn't do that. So the Lord does not interfere in the free will of any living entity. That is also a symptom of his renunciation. That even though he loves all the living entities, he doesn't drag them back. He lets them be. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna was Dharma Pranam.
And the Pranam.
Prabhuji, at one instance, Krishna tells the gopis that your devotion to me is so much that I can't pay you back.
Hmm.
Do you be satisfied in your own service?
Hmm.
Is it not that it is the attachment with detachment?
Yes, it's love.
Because, right?
See, attachment is a sign that even when, even when it is harmful, we are still hanging on.
There was when Krishna says
Hmm.
that I can't help it, but I appreciate. And this is so sincere that I can't pay back it to you at all. So that's also attachment.
Yeah. So
See,
Krishna is obliged. That's not
that,
attachment. Krishna is obliged. The gopis have sacrificed everything for Krishna. See, Lord is not ungrateful. So he is unable to repay. Because the gopis don't even want anything from Krishna.
yeah, they also don't want anything. That's correct.
Yeah, so Lord is in a helpless condition in that sense.
Thank you, Guru.
Hare
Right.
Krishna.
Very good.
So question is, when would this attachment go? When will it actually go? Yes, it will go when you have suffered long enough. In this material world, when you have suffered, bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyate. So you'll suffer, then you'll say. So for example, somebody wants money, fame, somebody wants to get married, raise a family. Everything in this world is a source of pain. So when you suffer unbearable pain, then you realize that it is not worth it. So it's not going to happen in this life. It may happen, but it generally doesn't work that way. These sanskaras accumulate. So when you have suffered family life in enough births, then you'll realize that, oh no, this is not good. Then when you take another birth, then you'll be averse to family life. Like we see the example of Jada Bharat, or we see the example of Raghunath Das Goswami. Complete aversion to family life. Or Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So they immediately they left. They did not hang around. Mahaprabhu instructed Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He said, you serve your parents until they're old. And when they leave this world, you go to Vrindavan. Don't get married. This was an instruction of Lord Chaitanya to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So the living entity, when he has suffered long, when these sanskaras are built up, when these impressions are existing for a long time, then the living entity becomes detached. It may take some time. It may take a lot of time. It may take many births also. But surely these impressions will accumulate, and gradually a devotee will become detached from all material enjoyment. So that's the process. But it's going to take time. It won't be so easy. So you have to constantly practice chanting. So when you are chanting continuously, that's why Mahaprabhu is saying, Grahi rahi Krishna naam nirantar laiba. Jare dekha, tare kaha Krishna upadesh. Amara agya hai guru tara hai desh. Kabu na badhibe tomar vishaya taranga. Punarapi eight hani pabe morashan. So, kabhu na badhibe tomara vishaya taranga. What does that mean? What is this vishaya taranga? This vishaya taranga is nothing but attachment to this material world. Why do we get hurt? Oh, somebody has won an election, somebody lost a cricket match. Because we are attached. That's why we feel miserable. So sometimes we think, oh, now my mother has died, now my father has died. Why do we think like that? Because I am thinking that this person is my mother, this person is my father. I am attached to that idea. Therefore, I am suffering. So when I have suffered like this for a long time, sufficiently long time, then I'll one day decide that, this is nonsense. I don't want this. Therefore, when the next opportunity comes, I will let this relationship pass. I won't take part in it. So in this way, all this material, edhana yomana putra parijan, one will become detached from all of this. But that requires constant chanting of the holy names, constant devotional service. Desham satata yuktana. So satata yuktana, continuous practice, not part-time practice, not half an hour a day, not 15 minutes a day. Continuous practice of Krishna consciousness. Then gradually the consciousness will awaken. Then you will become detached from material world. So if we summarize it, Point number one, constant suffering of the material relationships, and two, constant acquisition of pure spiritual knowledge. This will purify you. Yes. Any questions?
Prabhuji, Prabhuji,
Yes,
go ahead.
Prabhu.
So that means this detachment we are talking, he become detached with everything. Agree. But that means everybody become Jad Bhagat.
Yes, that's the objective.
So this
But it's not
universe will
easy.
look like
Huh?
a museum of the lost spaces. So this is Krishna is not sent us for that, no. He says
It won't happen.
you wanted to enjoy, go enjoy. But we must know our limit which we are not knowing. So that we agree. But otherwise
So
the
that-
very purpose of this universe will go away.
That's nice. I mean, Krishna doesn't want this universe.
But he created it and sent us here.
He has just sent us here because we want it. So if we don't want it, Krishna will withdraw it. And he'll be happy. He'll be happy to do that. We all should be with Krishna. We should not be here. So this Avdhuta, like we see the example of Jadabharat only. So Avdhuta is not roaming here and there like madman. He is in the ecstasy of the love of Supreme Lord. So he's in the ecstasy of love of God. Therefore, he's like that. Otherwise, they're simply madman.
Exactly. Anyway, thank you.
Hare Krishna, I have just one comment that, or question maybe, more that, is it then that when like a lot of this kind, so material suffering happens to us, that we should take it just as a Krishna's love for us, that he's trying to detach us from this world of
No, that is exactly what I shared yesterday with the passage from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That all the miseries of this material world are mercy of the Lord, a special mercy of the Lord to detach us from material nature. Or as Keshavan Prabhu was also saying day before yesterday, that this misery actually makes us unattached. When we see that this world is dukhalayam, everything is full of misery, then we start missing Krishna. Then we become satisfied. We don't want anything here. What do we want? Houses, cars, families. All of this is source of misery. So as devotees, we don't want to take part in any of that. So we are peaceful. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Atayava Shant. So Nishkam, without any desire to enjoy this material world. Yes. So any other questions or should we continue? Atha Niryaya Salilat.
Niraya Salilat
Prachetasa Udanvatah.
Chetas Udan Batah
Viksha Kupyan Drumesh Channam.
Diksha Kupyam Drumais Sanam
Gam Gam Ruddhum Ivochite.
Gam Gam Rodhum Ivo Charitai. Hare
Yes.
Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, please. Padiye. Krishna.
Thereafter, all the prachetas emerged from the waters of the sea. They then saw that all the trees on land had grown very tall, as if to obstruct the path to the heavenly planets. These trees had covered the entire surface of the world. At this time, the Prachetas became very angry. Purported by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. King Prachinabarisad left his kingdom before his sons arrived after their execution of penance and austerity. The Prachetas were ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come out of the water and go to the kingdom of their father in order to take care of that kingdom. However, when they came out, they saw that everything had been neglected due to the king's absence. Then first observed that food grains were not being produced and that there were no agriculture activities. Indeed, the surface of the world was practically covered by very tall trees. It seemed as though the trees were determined to stop people from going into outer space to reach the heavenly kingdoms. The Prachitas became very angry when they saw the surface of the globe covered in this way. They desired that the land be cleared for crops. It is not a fact that jungles and trees attract clouds and rain because we find rainfall over the sea. Human beings can inhabit any place on the surface of the earth by clearing jungles and converting land for agricultural purpose. People can keep cows and all economic problems can be solved in that way. One need only work to produce grains and take care of the cows. The wood found in the jungles may be used for constructing cottage. In this way, the economic problem of humanity can be solved. At the present moment, there are many vacant lands throughout the world, and if they are properly utilized, there will be no no scarcity of food. As far as rain is concerned, it is the performance of yajna that attract rain. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Arnad Bhavati Bhutani Parjanyada Arna Sambhavaha Yagyat Bhavati Parjano Yagya Karma Samudbhavaha. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. By performing sacrifice, man will have sufficient rainfall and crops. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So when Prachina Parishad left, I mean, now this kingdom was supposed to be ruled by the Prachetas. So Prachina Parishad was just sitting there when the Prachetas went for their austerities. Prachina Parishad was sitting there and enjoying his materialistic activities. But Narad Muni came and delivered him. So now you can feel, this is a very interesting point when you look into this particular incident, that after hearing the instructions of Narad Muni, Prachina Parishad did not even want to wait for his sons. He understood that this is all an illusion. So he left immediately. And in the time between Prachina Parishad's leaving and Prachita's arrival, trees had already grown. So we can imagine it must have been many, many years. So Prachina Parishad became immediately renounced. That's renunciation. One cannot say that, I will renounce after 5 years. I will renounce once my son has grown up. I will renounce once I have sufficient savings. No, that is also an attachment. Renunciation means renunciation. So while we are working, while we are accumulating wealth and raising families, we should also cultivate renunciation side by side. We should gradually, and at the time when renunciation actually manifests, we should just leave. Then we don't have to wait. Oh, now I'll wait for so and so. No, we just leave. So when Prachina Parishad, when he left this world, all the ritualistic activities came to a halt. The yajnas were stopped. As we see, Arjuna's concern in Bhagavad Gita is also the same. What will happen if the yajnas are stopped? If religious activities are stopped, the world will go to hell. Family traditions will come to an end. And my Lord, we will be responsible for it. That's what Arjuna is telling Krishna. So we see here also, the same thing has happened. Now all the religious activities have stopped and trees covered the whole globe. So here it is mentioned, it seemed as though the trees were determined to stop people from going into outer space to reach the heavenly kingdoms. So you see, when trees covered everything, no grains were being produced. And no grains were produced, so there was no question of yajna. So if there is no yajna, where is the path to heavenly planets? So in this way, literally and figuratively, the trees were blocking the path to heavens. So, because one goes to heavens by performance of yajna. If yajna is not performed, there will be no passage to heavens. So, if the trees are only growing everywhere, where will be the question of this thing? Where will be the question of agriculture? Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I have like thought is coming here that even Prachetas, they are they have done tapasya underwater and they saw the Supreme Lord face to face and got benediction and for very high devotional prayers and everything. But they were they came to the surface and they got angry. So, Prabhuji, how to understand this mood, their mood, why they got angry? Also, it is to protect the earth and to save the country for this thing. But so they again come back to their Kshatriya mood. Is it like to be understood that way, Prabhuji?
Yes. See, they had gone there for purification. They were Kshatriyas. Arjun got angry during the war. Krishna himself got angry. See, anger is not wrong if it is used in the right way.
Okay, Prabhuji. Like Dhruva Maharaj also, we have seen in the past chapters that he had a huge fight with this, what is their name?
The Yakshas.
Yakshas, yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, that's completely all right. You will also get angry.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Self-realization doesn't mean that one loses emotions.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay.
Okay, so text 45. Tato Agni Maratau Rajan. Amunchan Mukhato Rusha. Mahim Nirvirudham Kartum. Samvartaka Ivatyaye.
May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada Ji ki jai. Translation. My dear king, at the time of devastation, Lord Shiva emits fire and air from his mouth out of anger to make the surface of the earth completely treeless. The Prachetas also emitted fire and air from their mouths. Purport. In this verse, Vidura is addressed as Rajan, which means O king. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that a Dhira never becomes angry because he is always situated in devotional service. Advanced devotees can control their senses. Therefore, a devotee can be addressed as a Rajan. A king controls and rules in various ways amongst citizens. Similarly, one who can control his senses is the king of his senses. He is a Swami or a Goswami. The Swamis and the Goswamis are therefore sometimes addressed as Maharaj or King. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Vidura is Rajan. Tato Agni Maruto Rajan. One who can control, Raja. One who can, Raj means to control. So one who can control his senses is a Swami or a Raja. So here Vidura is being referred to as a Rajan. Actually, you see, this conversation has started from the second canto and still continuing between Maitreya and Vidur. In between Maitreya and Vidur, there is conversation of Narad Muni with various other personalities. So this is a narrative of Bhagavatam, conversations within conversations. Hitopadesh is also like this one. Hare Krishna. Yes, a Dhira never becomes angry because he's always situated in devotional service. So, yes, angry because one, kamat sangat sanjayate, kamaha kamat krodho vijayate. So there is no kama, so there is no krodha also in the case of a devotee. Yes. Any questions?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
Hmm.
Here in the translation,
Hmm.
it says Pracheta also emitted fire and air from their mouth. What does it mean? The further there is no comment on this. How can one, what were Pracheta? They were like human beings, no? Pracheta, advanced human beings. But they, how can they emit fire from their mouth and air, which could burn the jungles?
That's their yoga shakti. They will actually emit. We'll see in the next verses.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
(46)
46. Bhasmasat kriyamanam stan.
Bhasmasat
Kriyamaanam
Stan.
Man viksha pitamaha.
Durvan Vikshya Pitamaha.
Agatah samayan asa.
Agatah
Yatah Samyan Asa.
Putran barhishmato naye.
Putran
Putran
Barhishmato
Mato Nay.
Yes, please.
Married to
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. After seeing that all the trees of the surface of the earth were being turned to ashes, Lord Brahma immediately came to the sons of King Prasmin and pacified them with the words of logic. Purport. Whenever there is some uncommon occurrence on any planet, Lord Brahma, being the charge of the whole universe, immediately comes to the control of situation. Lord Brahma also came when Hiranyakashipu underwent severe penance and austerities and made the whole universe crumble. A responsible man in any establishment is always alert to keep peace and harmony within the establishment. Similarly, Lord Brahma is also allowed to keep peace and harmony within this universe. He consequently pacified the sons of King Brahmasena and with good logic. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, you see, that's the duty of a king or a father or a spiritual master or a demigod, to maintain order. So whenever there is a disturbance of order, even the Lord himself descends. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So when dharma, the order of the universe is disturbed, the Lord descends. So Brahma, certainly being responsible, so he has come down now to see why the trees are getting destroyed. So it's a very uncommon occurrence. First of all, the excessive growth of trees, and now their destruction by Prachetas, because Prachetas were determined to destroy all the trees on earth. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments? Continue. Text 47. Tatra Vashishta Ye Vriksha.
Tata Visishta
Vriksha
Gita Duhitaram Tada.
Pita
Taram Tada
Jaharuste Prachetobhya.
Prachetobhya.
Padishta Swayambhuva.
Swayambhuva.
Yes.
Mary Oh, go ahead, Ramata.
Translation. The remaining trees, being very much afraid of the Prachetas, immediately delivered the daughter at the advice of Lord Brahma. Purport. The daughter of the trees is referred to in text 13 of this chapter. This daughter was born of Kandu and Brahmalocha. The society girl, Brahmalocha, after giving birth to the child, immediately left for the heavenly kingdom. While the child was crying, the king of the moon, took compassion upon her and saved her by putting his finger into her mouth. This child was cared for by the trees, and when she grew up, by the order of Lord Brahma, she was delivered to the Prachetas as their wife. The name of the girl was Marisa, as the next verse will explain. It was the predominating deity of the trees that delivered the daughter. In this connection, Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada states, Vriksha tad adishtha atra devta. The trees means the controlling deity of those trees. In the Vedic literatures, we find that there is a controlling deity of the water. Similarly, there is a controlling deity of the trees. The Prachetas were engaged in burning all the trees to ashes, and they considered the trees their enemies. To pacify the Prachetas, the predominating deity of the trees, under the advice of Lord Brahma, delivered the daughter Marisa. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. The daughter was not European. She was in very much Vedic, Marisha. So this S has a dot underneath. So this is Marisha. So very interesting point here. So the society girl Pramalocha, after giving birth to the child, immediately left for the heavenly kingdom. So she was the daughter born of Kandu and Pramalocha. So Kandu is also the father of Markandeya, incidentally. Now, you see, so Pramalocha was also sent by Indra to disturb Kandu. See, the demigods become envious when someone is executing tapasya and when someone is executing devotional service. Demigods become agitated. And there's a valid reason for it. Someone may think that Indra is just sitting there and willy-nilly getting agitated at different sadhus. So it's not like this. See, the demigods are also very powerful personalities. And they can also perceive our thoughts. So while we are executing our devotional service, if we still have some materialistic thoughts in our hearts, we will be elevated to heavenly planets. And therefore, demigods feel threatened. And that's a reality, that's a fact. We can take over their positions. So therefore, demigods want to disturb. So if you don't want to be disturbed by the demigods, the best is to just, avoid any kind of materialistic thought. Become completely purified. Then demigods will not be able to agitate us. So we see the example, like the best quoted example of Vishwamitra and Haridas Thakur, that there is no question of one becoming attracted to material nature if one is attracted to the Supreme Lord himself. Because there is no limit to how much material nature can attract us. It's not just a question of some heavenly damsels or some wealth. Material nature can attract us even in the form of Brahman, because that is also not supreme. So the boundary between the spiritual and material worlds, the Virja river, that boundary also is very attractive. One can become attracted to that. Like we see the example, we see the story of Gop Kumar. I was just reading that today. So Gop Kumar, when he has already left the spiritual world, so he reaches a twilight zone between the material world and the spiritual world. And there a beautiful lady approaches him. And that place is fantastic. It's very beautiful. And it's a twilight time. And this beautiful lady approaches him and she says, "My dear Gop Kumar, please stay here with me. I am the personification of material energy. I will live here as your servant, and rest assured that you will never come under my influence." You see, we are so worried about the influence of material nature. And here material nature is begging Gop Kumar to be his associate and assuring him that she will never overcome him. I mean, they are not like us who cheat or something. She means it. But Gop Kumar wanted to see Krishna. His heart was already on Krishna, so he could not tolerate being without Krishna, even in such a beautiful place as the twilight zone. So you see. So if one is completely attracted to Krishna, no amount of disturbance created by demigods can distract us from our path of bhakti. Also, other thing is that in the heavenly planets, there is no question of illicit sex. These heavenly damsels, they are not contaminated by sinful reactions if they indulge in illicit sex like this. They have so many children from so many sages and kings and so many places. Like we see the example of, who is that king? Yayati, I forget his name now, who married Urvashi. That king.
Tulsi.
Pururava Prabhuji.
Pururava, yeah, Maharaj Pururava. Maharaj Pururava, he became infatuated with Urvashi. And when Urvashi left him, he meditated and eventually attained the same planet as Urvashi. So you see, so because Indra wanted Urvashi back in his planet, he didn't want her to spend too much time on Earth. So you see, so these heavenly damsels are not contaminated by sinful reaction. But if an earthly damsel does such a thing, she'll immediately be forced into a lower species like a dog or something. So many things, Bhagavatam has so many facts inside. So of course, like we see the example of Maharaj, of sage, what's his name? I'm forgetting. The father of Kapila Dev. Kardama Muni. So we see the example of Kardama Muni also. Kardama Muni's marriage was also arranged by the Supreme Lord. It was ordained by the Supreme Lord. Because he knew Kardama had a desire to raise a family. So he had already created that provision and he arranged for Devahuti. Now here, because Prachetas were also desiring to become family people, Pramalocha's daughter, Marisha, was already arranged for them. So this was like a provision which had been done. And of course, the last factor is the presiding deity of the trees. So not that the trees delivered. Sometimes we may think that trees are walking. No, so it was the predominant deity of the trees who appeared to protect the trees from Prachetas. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, maybe this is a stupid question, but I just wanted to know whether the demigods, they don't know that final aim of the life is to purify yourself and go back to Godhead. So we don't really read anyway. Okay, Indra has performed austerities or has performed bhakti, and finally he has attained the goal of life. We always hear that they keep on becoming envious.
Yeah, that's a very good question actually. See, what is like Prabhupada also, like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada have also mentioned many times, demigod mentality. See, in this world, you see, for example, now you are working in an institution, you have a chairman or a director. What is their mentality? So they are predominantly in the mode of passion, so you can find them maybe a bit proud and bit arrogant. Very intelligent, very qualified, but maybe proud and arrogant. So demigods are predominantly in Sattva Guna, but that Rajoguna is still there. The desire to be worshipped. So they take their demigod form. So many devotees we see. So many Prabhujis, they want to be worshipped by people, oh, I am the speaker, you should listen to me. Or, you should arrange so and so for me. I know one very senior devotee, god brother of mine. He's very senior. But he gets very angry if he's not kind of worshipped in that sense, If things are not to his liking, the food is not to his liking, or some arrangement, then he'll get very angry. But when he speaks, he'll be like humility personified. But in his personal life, he is like an arrogant gunda. So you see, this is demigod mentality. There is mode of goodness. There is a lot of piety, but also the desire to have a position, Rajoguna, the trace of Rajoguna. So in that passion, one is not able to really see the aim of life. So it is not to say that all demigods are like this. Some demigods are practically pure devotees. Like we see the example of Yamraj himself. So in Garuda Purana, it is mentioned that if a Vaishnava somehow or the other by mistake reaches Yamlok, then Yamraj worships him. So, of course, because Vaishnavas go there. Yeah.
Then, sorry. Like here we know that finally we suffer so much that we then just surrender to the Lord and we practice bhakti very seriously and go. But now there is no suffering. Then how will they really take up to bhakti and how will they go? Or do they have to finish the piety, come down to the earth and then only go?
That is generally what happens. But there are sages like Asit, Deval, Narad who are traveling in these planets. We see the story of Maharaj Chitraketu. Of course, that's going to come later actually. 6th canto, that story will come. Maharaj Chitraketu. So Narad, this Angira Rishi came to meet him there. Likewise, we see the story of Gopkumar only. Gopkumar, Narad Muni meets him in every planet practically. So, so Narad Muni is traveling. These great sages are also traveling. So there is opportunity in every planet. But like ye athamam prapanchante, it's the desire of the living entity himself. Like Prabhupada, when Vishnudhan Swami left this world, Prabhupada said, "Oh, he should have never done that. Now he has gone to heavenly planets, and from there he will go back to Godhead." See, a devotee will not enjoy that. We have suffered so much on earth. When we go to heavenly planets, we'll see these apsaras and beautiful homes and everything. We'll have this knowledge. Bhagavad Gita will not go away. We'll know that all this is temporary. So even if one lands in heavenly planets, one will have this painful memories of earth. One knows what is waiting for him if he doesn't take to devotion. Lord Upendra, Vaman Dev, he appears in Indralok. He appears as elder brother of Indra. He always stays there. So you see, opportunity is always there. So it's not that everyone has to fall down. Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti is for those who are just enjoying the heavenly planets. But there are some pious souls also who have just stuck there. So they'll go. Then they'll not stay there. They'll take, like if you meet Narad Muni now, for example, imagine if Narad Muni appears in front of you, what will you say to him? Having known so much about Bhagavatam. So naturally, when we see him in the spiritual, in the heavenly world, we wouldn't want to let go of him. So we should not cultivate any sense gratificatory tendencies. But as we are struggling to eradicate them and we advance in bhakti, Krishna also knows what is the best for us. So Krishna is not going to make a mistake in our transference from this planet. After death, Krishna will take care. If we are really desiring to enjoy only, then we go to heavenly planets. Otherwise, Krishna may give another birth in a Brahmanical family straight away.
Also, Prabhuji, you mentioned that certain demigods, even I have read that Yamraj, Vayu, and all these are pure devotees. But now we know that these demigods, they are posts. They are not a permanent person. So is it that only pure devotees are given these posts? Because they are named.
No. Right now, it's a pure devotee who has taken this post. Sometimes, when there is no qualified soul, Lord himself incarnates as the demigod.
But why I'm asking is just this 2-3 only they mention as pure devotees.
Yeah, everyone else wants to enjoy. Demigod one becomes when one is too pious and still has a lot of desire to enjoy. So that's why you see, we should not have any desire in this world to be worshipped, to be respected, to have wealth, to have anything. No. In this world, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. Very interesting verse. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. So no wealth, no followers, no opposite sex. Na kavitam va jagadish kamaye. Kavitam va. I don't want knowledge also. So many devotees are so aspirational for knowledge. Oh, I want to know. I know devotees who carry truckloads of books around. No, we don't want that also. We just want to know Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's books are sufficient for that. To know Krishna. Kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. Mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktir ahetuki tuhi. If Prabhupada would have said that you just study the introduction to Gita, we would have done only that. Prabhupada instructed us to read these books, so we are reading these books. Beyond that is not our interest. Then we'll be able to avoid these heavenly planets. Because there are heavenly planets where scholars are also living. So it's not heavenly planets doesn't mean that you are just enjoying with apsaras. Heavenly planets are also where one can enjoy with scholars and tapasvis. So, so different types or different grades of heavenly planets. We don't want to go there. There are heavenly planets for brahmacharis also. So we don't want that either. The point is that we are not attached to anything in this world, not even brahmacharya. Not that, oh, I have to be a celibate. No, not even that. We are just here to attract Krishna and to get attracted by him. That's all. Anything that facilitates that, we accept. Anything that is against that, we reject, even if it is piety.
Yes.
Mayavadis are great brahmacharis, but they are also the worst in this universe.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
And Keshavananda Prabhu was saying in one lecture that there is this own heavenly planet for Christians and Muslims also. Like.
Yes, there are. Prabhupada said Jesus has his planet, Muhammad has his planet. So there are planets. If one is pious. If one is pious. Yeah. Then Jesus, like in that planet, Jesus will give knowledge of Krishna also. Then he'll say, okay, now you are pure enough.
Pious Christians.
Yeah, pious Muslims, then they'll be like, given. Because I have lived in Kashmir, 90% Muslims. I have seen very pious Muslims. Like, some of our devotees will not be of that standard. They are very pious Muslims, very noble souls. And likewise, you'll see in Christians also. So it's not that these are nonsense religions or anything. No, every path is leading back to Krishna eventually. Yeah. So any other questions or comments? Okay, then we stop here today. Yes. Okay, we stop here today then. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhuji,
Thank you,
Dandavat.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna.